The next time you and your crew are out sitting around that adventuring campfire, make sure to keep the light low. There are worse things than orcs that haunt the dark places of the world. Enter the Wraith, a creature of pure malice coalesced into an incorporeal form that seeks to quench all life. Hey guys, what's happening? It's Evan here from D4 Dungeon, and I'd like to welcome you all to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn more about leveling up your D&D experience, then start now by hitting that subscribe button so that you don't miss a thing. So what exactly is a Wraith? We've already talked about specters, poltergeists, and ghosts, but the Wraith is much meaner. This creature, in corporeal form, is completely saturated with negative energy. Its mere passage through the world of the living will leave plants and small animals dead in its wake. This entity is literally a black hole, drawing in and destroying any living matter that it comes in contact with. Created by a soul so completely suffused with dark energies that upon death it folds in upon itself, creating a void and becoming a wraith. This horror can pass through solid matter with no more difficulty than you would have passing through a thick mist. Except, of course, excluding those poor souls stuck in the land of Barovia. This creature is almost completely bereft of any connection that it had to its former life. However, the Wraith may retain the faint echoes of memories, causing it to stop and stare at something that it liked in its former life, or perhaps even preventing it from slaying a creature that it once loved for a short while. Wraiths are both creators and commanders of undead. They have the ability to turn a humanoid who's recently died some horrible or violent death into a specter. Often commanding hordes of undead, these creatures will lead wars and campaigns against the world of the living, leaving nothing but desolate wastes in their wake. The advantages to the Wraith are pretty similar to those of the Spectre and Poltergeist, seeing as these creatures create the latter. However, there are more of them. The Wraith is bereft of body, meaning that it can pass through solid objects as easily as you walk through a mist. It's also an undead commander, which we've already talked about, meaning that it can create specters from a humanoid that's recently died a horrible death. The Wraith's undead nature, much like the rest of the undead that we've talked about so far, means that they don't require air, food, sleep, or drink. Their damage resistances are to acid, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical, non-silvered weapons. They also have damage immunities to both poison and necrotic damage, and condition immunities to charmed, exhausted, grappled, paralyzed, poisoned, petrified, prone, and restrained. They have dark vision up to 60 feet, as well as a fly speed of 60 feet, making these creatures incredibly agile. Their incorporeal movement also means that they can move through solid objects as though it were difficult terrain, but they will take 1d10 force damage if they end their turn in said creature or object. Their Create Spectre special ability means that the Wraith can target a creature within 10 feet of it that has died within the last minute in a violent manner. The target spirit raises as a spectre in the space of the corpse or in the nearest unoccupied space. The spectre is under the Wraith's control, and the Wraith can have no more than 7 of these specters under its control at the same time. I think it's also important to note that the Wraith has higher than average scores in the 3 main saving throw attributes: Constitution, Dexterity, and Wisdom, making these creatures fairly hard to take down with spells. Again, the only real disadvantage to the Wraith is their sunlight sensitivity, which means that they have disadvantage on attack rolls and wisdom perception checks that rely on sight when in direct sunlight. However, another disadvantage, the way I see it as a DM, is that these things can pretty much destroy a low-level party if you're not careful, and actually causing them to raise one of the PCs up as a Spectre is pretty cold. The combat and the tactics for the Wraith are going to be pretty similar to those of the Spectre. This creature is going to go after the most virtuous characters first, and if you have more than one Wraith in the encounter, they're all going to gang up on the same guy, so be careful. Remember that the only thing that's going to stop a Wraith from attacking this character is if it's hit with radiant, magical weapons, or silvered weapons, or perhaps if your PCs escape to direct sunlight. Wraiths hit by radiant damage, a magical weapon, or a silvered weapon will break off from the source of that damage and attack a different player character until it's dead. Then it will flee, hoping to come back with greater numbers and gang up upon the source of that magical radiant or silvered damage. Like I said earlier, Wraiths have the ability to make specters out of your player characters, and in fact, if you're playing them smartly, this is exactly what they would do. However, as the DM, I'd be careful about doing this to a player character, as this is a game and it's your job to make sure that everyone's having fun, and turning them into an undead fighting their party members might not be the best route. I would at the very least give the rest of the PCs a chance to raise, heal, resurrect, or in some way bring this player character back so to make sure that everyone at the table is having a good time. To sum these guys up, if you have multiple Wraiths in an encounter, they'll all be drawn to the same target. But just keep in mind that a single Wraith can be a deadly encounter for a party of 4 3rd level characters, and perhaps even a single 7th level character. Wraiths are pretty much just extra powerful specters. They possess all the same resistance and immunities that the specter does, as well as the incorporeal movement and the life drain. Their life drain ability makes a particularly rough start to the adventuring day, as it's going to reduce their hit point maximum. However, throwing the Wraith at the player characters towards the end of the day pretty much nerfs this ability, as all your hit points are restored on a long rest. In my opinion, I'd put it somewhere in the middle, giving a little added tension to the rest of the day if the PCs figure there may be more encounters. That's it for today's video, guys, and I hope you were able to learn something about Wraiths, and maybe about how to run an exciting encounter for both you and your player characters. Don't forget, if you want to learn more about D&D and other Dungeons & Dragons related stuff, then start now by hitting that subscribe icon so that you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next Monster Monday.